All right, hello. Okay, so today we're going into the last chapter of Unit 3, and it's going to be a little bit of a review for some of you. If you're kind of handy dandy with algebra, which I know last year got cut short, so I'm going to treat this as if you've never seen this before. Okay, so today we're going to be working on writing equations of parallel and perpendicular lines. Okay, so parallel, remember, means they do not touch ever, ever, ever. And perpendicular means they create a 90-degree angle. Okay, so as you are taking notes, the most important thing you need to write down right here is the facts. Okay, if you have the facts, you are golden. Okay, it should help. And then I want you to obviously participate in the examples that we have, but the facts is the most important part today. So fact 1 is that the parallel lines have the same slope. Okay, so if one line has a slope of 2, the line that is parallel with it will also have a slope of 2. Nothing changes except for maybe the y-intercept. The next one is that perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes, meaning they flip it and change the sign. So like Missy Elliott, we're going to we're going to put that thing down and flip it and reverse it, okay? So we're going to flip the numbers and change the sign. So we're going to think like Missy Elliott. All right. So the next one will be intersecting lines have different slopes. So if there's a difference between intersecting lines and a perpendicular line means it makes a 90-degree angle. The slope is they're flipping the numbers and they change the sign. Whereas intersecting, it could literally mean any different kind of slope. So it could be 2 and 3, 1/2 and 1/3. It could be 1/2 and 2. Okay, whatever it may be, they're just intersecting at that point. And then we have coinciding lines have the same slope and the same y-intercept. So what that means is the lines are just on top of each other. So it literally looks like there is no other line. It looks like there's just one line there in the end. Okay, so we're going to complete this chart right here. All right, so we're going to look at the given slope, and we're going to determine the parallel slope, the perpendicular slope, the intersecting slope, and the coinciding slope. Okay, so I'm gonna do like the first two and then maybe the 0, but I want you all to do the rest on your own. Okay, so a parallel slope. Well, if we look up at our facts, a parallel slope is the same. So with the given slope, the parallel slope would just be 2/3. All right, so this one was the same. Okay, so we're gonna flip numbers. We're gonna do it like Missy Elliott. We're going to flip it and reverse it. So what that means is I don't even know if I'm spelling Elliott right, but what that means is we're going to flip the numbers. So instead of 2/3, it's going to be 3/2, and then we're going to change the sign. Well, because it's positive, it's going to be negative. Intersecting slope, it can literally be any other slope that you want. It could be 4, it could be 2, it could be 3/2, it could be 3/4, or whatever your heart desires. Okay, so like any slope that's different. There is no like wrong. I mean, there is a wrong answer as long as you don't put parallel or perpendicular slope. Okay, it could be 1/4. Perfect. And then coinciding. Well, that means coinciding still has the same slope. So it's going to be 2/3. All right, same thing. Parallel slope to -4. Well, it's going to be -4. Perpendicular. Well, technically, this is -4/1. Okay, so the perpendicular slope, we're going to flip those numbers. So instead of 4/1, it's going to be 1/4. And then we're going to keep it positive. Got to keep it positive. Intersecting, it can be literally any slope. So I'm just going to put 2. And then coinciding means it has the same. All right, let's do 0. Okay. If it's a parallel slope, it's going to have the same. If it's an intersecting slope, I'm going to skip perpendicular. If it's an intersecting slope, it can be anything. So like 1/2. And then coinciding is the same. So let's talk about perpendicular. 0 technically just means it's 0 over any other number. We don't know what that number is, but it has a slope of 0. Okay? So meaning it doesn't rise any. So when I actually flip those numbers, it ends up being number over 0, which then just gives us an undefined slope. So remember, a slope that was left and right, a line that had a slope of left and right had a 0 slope. But a slope that was up and down had an undefined slope. So when we have a perpendicular line to a line with a slope of 0, that line has an undefined slope. Okay, so I want y'all to complete -1/4 and 2. All right, so let's get into these. So we're going to determine if the following lines are parallel, perpendicular, intersect, or coincide. So remember, parallel is same. Perpendicular is flip it, change it. And then intersect is just different. That slope is different. Okay, sorry, I had to reference that TikTok. Okay, and then coinciding is same. Okay, so we have lines AB, which have these slopes right, or these points right here, and then we have line CD. Okay, so there is a formula that we use, which is this one right here, and I rewrote it beforehand because I wanted to save some time. So if we use that formula, we will be successful. So we're going to find the slope between A and B. And we have to label our points. So x1, y1, x2, y2. And we're just going to plug it in to this formula right here. So we have y2, which is 10, minus our y1, which is -5. We have x2, which is 2. And then we have a x1, which is -3. Okay, well, 10 minus a -5 gets us a +15. And a 2 minus a -3 gets us 5. So the slope here is 3. Okay, so now we're going to do that again. We're going to do that again for CD. So I want you to start that. So remember, we're going to label our points, x1, y1, x2, y2. Our y2 is -5. Our y1 is -4. Our x2 is 6. And our x1 is 3. Okay, so -5 minus a -4 is a -1. And 6 minus 3 is 3. Okay, so we need to determine, are these the same, opposite, reciprocal, or different? Okay, so they're definitely different. So they're either going to be perpendicular or intersecting. So technically AB, this can also be 3/1. So I definitely flip the numbers when it comes to our slope of 3 and our slope of 1/3. Did I change the sign? All right, yes, I did. So this one is a perpendicular. Perpendicular lines. These are perpendicular lines. Okay, I'm going to highlight this in a different color. Okay. All right. So if it gives you if it gives you points on a line, this is what you're going to do. So points on a line. So it gives you 2 points on. So 4 points on 2 lines. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to use the slope formula right here. Okay. All right. This is what we're going to do when it gives us something in standard form. So this is standard form. All you have to do is solve for y. In order to solve these problems that are in standard form, like given, just take each of those equations and get y by themselves. So like this one, I'm going to subtract 6x on both sides. I obviously cannot subtract 6x from negative 24 because negative 24 doesn't have an x. So it gets left as negative 12y equals negative 24 minus 6x. I am then, in order to get y by itself, I'm going to divide by negative 12. All right, when this happens right here, divide each of them, negative 24 and negative 6, by our denominator, our negative 12. Okay, so y equals negative 24 divided by 12. So we're dividing that first one, negative 24 divided by 12. Gets us a positive 2. And negative 6 divided by negative 12 gets us a positive 1/2 x. So our slope for this one is negative 1/2. Okay, that is our slope. Remember, slope is tied with x. So remember, it's y equals mx plus b. Okay, m being slope, b being our y-intercept. Okay. All right. The next one, we are going to solve for y as well. Well, this one's super simple. It's a super easy step. We're going to divide by 3. And when you divide one side, you have to divide both. Okay. So this one's left over with y equals, well, 2 divided by 3 is just 2 divided by 3. And then 18 divided by 3 is 6. Well, the slope here on this one is 2/3. So because these slopes are different, and I'm going to highlight both equations here. Because the equations are different and the slopes are different, these are just intersecting. Because slopes are different. All right. Lots of highlighting today. All right. Okay, so it says write an equation of a line parallels, is the big word here, to 8x minus 2y equals 4 and goes through the point 1/3. 1/3. Okay, so the first step is to find slope. Okay, our slope is hidden in this formula right here, or this equation. So we have to solve for y here. So 8x minus 2y equals 4. We need to solve for y. So we're going to subtract 8x. Left with 2y equals 4 minus 8x. divide by negative 2. Make sure you divide every little bit by negative 2. So y equals 4 divided by negative 2 is negative 2. And then negative 8 divided by negative 2 is a positive 4x. Well, remember, it's y equals mx plus b, this being your slope. Okay, so that means 4 is our slope. So in this case, for this problem, our slope is 4. All right, your next step is to use point slope formula to find equation. Super easy. Okay, there is a point slope formula. So remember, it's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Your y1 and your x1 are for the 1 and 3 right here. Okay, so 1 being your x1 and 3 being your y1. And you just plug in what you know. Well, you have y. The y stays there. Subtracting your y1, which is over here in the equation, so 3 equal, well, your slope, we just found it. Okay, so your slope is 4. You leave x there because your equation needs a y and x, so we're going to leave that there. Subtracting your x1, which is 1. Just kidding. And then now you solve. You expand out the problem. You solve for y. Okay, so the first thing you need to do, and I can't put it on top where I would, you have to distribute this 4. So I have y minus 3 equals 4 times x, which is 4x, and 4 times negative 1, which is negative 4. All right, now we need to get y by itself, so we're going to add 3. So y equals 4x minus 1. And that's our answer. 4x minus 1. Perfect. Absolutely beautiful. Okay. So this is what happens when it gives you, equation and point. And it wants you to write a formula. Okay. All right, last one. I've already pre-written the points because I wanted to save time, once again, as always. Okay, so it says use the graph and following to do examples 3, which, why it has this, I don't know. Example 3 says find an equation of a line that's perpendicular to AC and goes through point B. So here are the points you're going to use. Okay, so we have AC, which is our line, and we want a new line that goes through this point. Okay, well, in order to find the slope, so that's always our first step, find slope. Well, we only have the information of the 2 points. AC, we only have the information of the 2 points. Yes, we could count the slope right here. So rise over run. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 1, 2. So it went up 6 and to the left 2. So it's a negative 3. But we also could use the slope, the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so yes, we found the slope here of that line, but I also want to use the formula just to show you that it works. Okay, so remember we have x1, y1, x2, y2. So our x2 is 0 minus our x1, which is 6. Our x2, which is 5. And then our y1. So we have, again, negative 6 over 2, which gets us negative 3. So that's the slope of the line. If we want something perpendicular, ooh, which it says in the question. It says in the question, that perpendicular. We have to flip it. We have to be like Missy Elliott and flip it and reverse it. So instead of which in reality it's -3/1, it's going to change to +1/3. And this is the slope we're going to use. Okay, so anytime we have 1 point, step 2, we have 1 point and a slope, we're going to use y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, so this was step 1, all of this. Okay, finding the slope. Step 2 is this right here, and I'm going to move it over here. Okay, so y, we're going to keep that there, minus our y1. So remember, this is, I'm going to write this in blue. X minus x1, or y1, sorry. Okay, so our y1 is 2, equal our slope, which is m. So I'm going to pull it from over here. So m, which is our slope. When we determined our slope, the perpendicular slope was 1/3. Okay, x minus x1, which is -2. Okay. All right, so now we need to distribute this negative, or this 1/3. So we have y minus 2 equals 1/3 times x, which is 1/3 x. Okay, minus a negative will get us a positive. So I'm just going to change this to a positive. And that ends up being, when I multiply 1/3 times 2, ends up being a positive 2/3. Well, now I need to add 2. Well, now we got us adding fractions over here. So I hope your calculator can do this. So we have y equals 1/3 x. All right, don't worry about this, but I'm going to show you how to add fractions over here. So don't worry about this right here. Just my computer not adding the right problem. So we have y equals 1/3 x plus a 2/3. And we want to add 2. That's what we're doing right here. Got it? I hope I'm not confusing you. But what we're doing right here, I'm going to move it to this page so we can find the answer. Okay, so when we add fractions, I like to put them together as if I'm adding them. So technically that is 2/1. I cannot add these until the denominators are the same. So right now they're not the same. So I have to think about, how am I going to get these denominators the same? Well, this 1 can be changed to a 3 by multiplying by 3. Okay, that works, but I cannot just multiply the bottom. I have to multiply the top 2 to keep the fraction the same. So when I do that, it changes 2/3 plus you multiply straight across. So we know that our bottom, our denominator, is going to be 3. And then 2 times 3, which is 6. And now I can add straight across. My denominator doesn't change. But then we do 2 plus 6, which is 8. So the rest of this y-intercept that we just found is actually plus 8/3. And that is our answer. Okay. Your calculator should be able to do this as well, like your calculator on your Chromebook. So if you're not a huge fan of adding fractions by hand, then you can use a calculator. But trust me when I say it's good to know that skill. Okay? All right. Test Friday. All right. Bye, guys.